Hey guys, my name is Lexa LeRoy. I'm an SEU student and a young adult here at Real Life Church, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what I've been learning in my devotions recently. So I'm going to talk about Joseph from the Bible today, and I'm going to give you a rundown really quickly of part of his story. So basically, Joseph was his father's favorite, and his brothers resented him for that. Joseph got a coat that was just super nice, and his brothers were super upset. So they actually plotted to kill him. But instead of killing him, they decided that they were just going to sell him as a servant to the Ishmaelites. And so he was sold as a servant and became Potiphar's servant. But while being Potiphar's servant, he actually was framed for sleeping with Potiphar's wife and was sent to prison. But in prison, he had the opportunity to actually interpret two of the prisoner's dreams. And as he was interpreting the dreams, Pharaoh let the chief cupbearers out of prison. And Joseph said, hey, when he lets you out, just remember me and remember to tell him about me. But as they were let out, they forgot to tell him all about Joseph. So Joseph spent 2 more years in prison. And when finally 2 years later, Pharaoh needed a dream interpreted, Joseph got to interpret that. And with that, Pharaoh actually let him out of prison and he put him in charge of his entire house. So I tell you all of this to tell you that Joseph's had a hard life. He's gone through a lot. His entire family's betrayed him. His servant's wife pitted against him and got him put into prison. And then the people in prison that he helped abandoned him and left him there all alone. But I want to tell you that when Pharaoh found him, when he interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, it was from God. He had a gift. He had the gift of interpretation, and he got to use that even through all of the hardship. And it actually ended up working out in his favor. Pharaoh ended up putting him in charge of his entire house and made him make all of the choices that were going to be made throughout the entire country, because Joseph had predicted that there was going to be 7 years of abundance and then 7 years of famine. And so because of that, Pharaoh said, hey, I need you to prepare us for that 7 years of famine. So everything that's done is going to be done through you. You're going to be in charge. You're going to call the shots. And Pharaoh actually says in Genesis 41:38 or 39, he says, then Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has shown you all this, there is none so discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall order themselves as you command. He was saying, Joseph, you are super wise. You have discernment. God has given you these gifts, and now I'm going to let you use those. And so I say all of this to tell you that Joseph had every right to be angry at God. He had every right to turn his back and say, you know what, God, you've allowed me to go into prison. You've allowed me to be betrayed. And he could get to prison and be like, I'm not using my gifts. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just live my life in prison because I'm not helping you anymore. But instead, Joseph decided to step into that calling that he had. He decided to use those gifts, and those gifts ended up excelling him so that he had a form of leadership. And so I think sometimes we get so upset because we feel disqualified, and we feel like because of our past, because of our shortcomings, because of our insecurities, we can't use the gifts that God's given us. But Joseph just is here to show that he has a past. He was abandoned, he was betrayed, and he's still giving everything to the Lord. We see later in Genesis 41, he actually ends up having 2 more sons, and he names them after God. He names the one son Manasseh, and it says, for he said, God has made me forget all my hardship and all my father's house. He named his son after God and the hardship that he went through. And then his second son is Ephraim, and it says, for God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. So even through the hardship, even through Joseph's affliction, he's glorifying God by naming his children after the hardship that he went through, because he has so much respect and so much honor for God that he knows that God put him through that hardship and that affliction so that one day he would be able to use his gifts and continue to use them even through the hardship. So even when you feel unqualified, even when you feel like you're not good enough to use the gifts that God has given you, remember Joseph. Remember that even in prison, he still used his gifts. Remember that even as a servant, the lowest of lows, he still used his gifts. You're not unqualified. You're not disqualified. God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. And so it's our choice whether we're going to step into the calling and use the gifts that God's given us, or whether we're going to sit on the sideline and watch him play everything else out. So my challenge to you today is to think of this question. Are you going to use the gifts that he's given you, or are you going to sit back and pray that he works it out for you? He's given you the gifts, so go use them. Thanks for listening to my Devo, and I hope this inspires you.